media outlets and easily to control for the secret services or to manipulate. But now, you can make a Twitter space and you organize it like this, and you can tweet your opinions, you can Facebook or whatever kind of social media. And so the world has really moved on, and it's no longer controllable, the global media space, because it's so big. Of course, they try now with artificial intelligence and to flood the world with fake news. But we can still work very effectively on these platforms as well, as our discussion today shows. So ultimately, I'm not worried about it. On the contrary, because today every individual has all the information available on his telephone and can communicate to the world easily. And so that's basically a battle we have won. And the Indian can work with the Indian secret services, can work with the Russian secret services. They can waste their time and their money on such cooperation. But nevertheless, the global success of freedom is unbeatable. And we will definitely also, you will see the success in Ukraine will be coming, and we will be also liberating all of Ukraine. We will win also the battle for the future of Russia. And on course of India, of course, it's maybe a long-term struggle. That's also possible. I don't want to encourage you for tomorrow, because that's probably a longer thing, because they also have the democratic parts, and there is also some institutional flexibility in India. But nevertheless, when they continue to kill opposition leaders, you will see the more extreme they go against human rights, against political rights, the more atrocities they commit, then the less international support they will have. And so the future is also very possible for a breakup of the Indian Federation and for the independence of Khalistan. It's absolutely a scenario which is thinkable.
Quick question. Sorry.
Wait.
Andy, go ahead.
I just want to ask one question, and this is just a personal question. Have you been suffering any abuse or any blowback for your support for Khalistan? I'm just curious, because we suffer.
No, seriously, I don't think so. Anybody will touch me. I'm a EU citizen, so I'm safe. It's a very good position to have because it's the new Roman Empire in many ways. You are a EU citizen and you are basically safe from all these things. They have forwarded my tweets to the Twitter handle of the Indian Secret Service, but that was it. And they have also told they have the Indian Telecom Authority has informed Twitter that the one tweet which I did last week, I think I did a tweet accusing or asking Mr. Modi if he is learning the Russian tactics from Putin to kill the opposition leaders. This was a tweet I have put out last week. I can find it again. And this Twitter has then told me that in India, this tweet is now withheld on request of the Indian Telecommunication Authority. And yes, it's here. I have put the Indian Information Telecom Act I have violated and then the Indian law obliged Twitter to withhold the access to this content in India. But I complained, and then I deleted the tweet and I posted a photo of the tweet again. But this tweet I have deleted. So that was my only situation with India.
And what do you think that says about India when there's? I mean, you're not of South Asian descent. You're not, really influencing individuals per se in the Punjabi language. You're just an observer who's an impartial observer who's looking at the events. What do you think it says about India when they try to target you and their security apparatus focuses in on you as just a EU citizen?
Yeah, it's very bad. It's very bad because it's totally legitimate position in Austria to ask for the dismantlement of India. It doesn't mean that India will be dismantled. Yeah, it's just one scenario which I discuss here online. So it's nothing that I have the power to dismantle India or Brazil or Russia. I can just say that I'm shocked by the present non-democratic and human rights abuse in India today, which are widely documented. I'm shocked by the foreign policy of supporting Russia. And I say, if a country behaves like that, I think it's much better to discuss a future where there are 15 or 20 new states in India. And that's something intellectually one can think of, yeah. It doesn't have any kind of power to do anything against India anyhow. So I just spread this idea, and this should be allowed in democratic environments. And especially, it's not up to the Indian government to tell me as an Austrian European citizen what I can write or what I can think. I have insulted nobody. I've just repeated basically what Mr. Justin Trudeau has said in the Canadian Parliament as well. And I'm happy. They can also, some on the internet, they say now we have to discuss about the dismantlement of Austria. Okay, you can do that as well in India if you want. But we feel quite democratic and quite peaceful here and quite prosperous. So the case is very limited. But in India, I was really surprised how many people have a positive reaction, because seemingly the Sikhs are really, or others, are really very badly treated by the central authority. And the claim that India is a federal market democracy, it seems to be very far-fetched and actually untrue. And so I think for India, it's really time for a reckoning. You want to be a federal state and Western democracy and a free world, and where everybody, don't matter of his ethnicity and religion and was social status, can live in freedom. Or you have to think about the different arrangement of the political structure on the Indian subcontinent. And we have seen now many unions dissolved. The Ottoman Empire is dissolved. Yeah? The Russian Empire is dissolved. The Soviet Union, the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, and so on and so on. And most recently, Yugoslavia. And then we can also think about this kind of construct, which basically was done by the British Empire, because India was many, many different states until the British have unified it by steel and force. And then it was divided into 3 countries in the years 49 to 71. And now it's 3 countries. And the future is completely possible where India will be 15 countries or 25. Yeah. But again, I say you must make that peacefully. You must make this in accordance with the other independence movements. And you must build a consensus and some public support globally, because nobody wants to have a civil war, because that's very terrible. Because remember how many people died during the various Pakistani Indian wars. So nobody obviously wants to have a repeat of that scenario. So you must find a process of negotiated freedom. And that's something which I think in the modern world is very possible. It can be done in Washington and in Canada, and build a forum of the free nations of India. And so you can go in that direction. And that's the better way to do it.
I have a quick question on the Khalistan referendum happening. Just want to get your quick thoughts on it. How will Khalistan referendum will impact the South Asia? Because there are so many nations, like you said, even in the Indian Union, many nations wants to have their own independent country. How will a Khalistan referendum happening around the globe will help them politically?
You know, that I have to give back to the organizers, because I'm not the organizer of the Khalistan referendum. I think what is important, you know, I said already, it's to go in a 2-step way. First, make a referendum. It will be good, yeah. And then you can go for a situation where you declare a parliament, elect a president, and have some every 2 years or every 3 years organization like the East Turkestan government to have this kind of referendum of independence, but also leading then to building institutions of governance. And that's very important. Yeah? So it is not enough to have a referendum, but you need to have representative institutions of self-governance of the Sikh nation of Khalistan, and that must be then looked for recognition, similar like East Turkestan or Tibet, and that's a very good way forward.
You know, Gunther, what I would draw to your attention was one of the things you've said is that, look, if the emergence of Khalistan causes conflict, the international community will be hesitant and shy away from it. I completely agree with that statement. The reemergence of an independent Sikh state must be peaceful and in line with international principles. But what I would draw to your attention is that the continued existence of India will fuel conflicts in Europe. It'll give legitimacy through the fact that India is a nation state, and an economic outlet for Russia to have that breathing room, have economic flow, have the financial means to oppress people. So there's two aspects to this. One is the emergence and the potential risk, and second is the continued existence of and the continued risk and the continued mass murder that continues with countries like India being permitted to still be there. And that's an important factor I think we should also discuss, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree. Any concrete questions, you mean?
Okay, yeah,
Is there any more questions?
I'll go ahead. The thing is, like, on one hand, India is deeply involved in Western cyberspace, like with the collaboration and stuff. And at the same time, it's working closely with BRICS space missions. As we all know, these like 11 countries are trying to go there. They have like 8 satellites in the space. Um, don't you think India is a credible threat for Western institutions, and sanctions on India would secure Western institutions, such as like seizing trade deals from multiple nations, something like that?
Look, in general, India is free to do trade deals with everybody in the world, and it's a free world out there, so they can conclude whatever they want. I just say, the BRICS is a very bizarre combination of countries which have anti-Western and authoritarian tendency. And it's, I don't know what exactly is that format. It was basically built by Russia and China to find some allies. And for some bizarre reasons, India has been falling for that. But maybe it is a strategy. Seemingly, the foreign minister, I saw some of his interviews recently. He is very comfortable with that one. And they have a very clear anti-free world agenda. So I'm finished with them and I campaign against them for that one. But, the real danger is not very strong for the West because ultimately these are very corrupt, very poor countries. Like India, honestly, is still very, very poor country. You are just 30% of China in terms of GDP per capita. Your GDP is about 3,500, and you are very proud in India that you have overtaken the United Kingdom in the GDP. But you're 1.4 billion people, and there are 70 million people living in the United Kingdom. So what kind of achievement is that? In reality, India is still very underdeveloped because your government structures is defunct and your kind of internal competition, political system, economic system is not working. You have a history of socialism from the beginning of the independence until the 1990s. And even this modest opening which Modi has done now, which has resulted in a bit, is still very limited, the opening of the economy to the world. And we have made you many offers. The British have made you many offers of a free trade agreement, not materialized. The European have made you offers. You try to reform. So ultimately, honestly, when you see that the Chinese have gone in 20 years since they joined the World Trade Organization from 1 trillion to now 20 trillion GDP. This is unbelievable in world history. And India is still hanging around about 3 to 4 trillion as I last looked. I'm sorry for the details here, I have to always look. But somehow the British economy at 3 trillion, that's somehow the Indian as well. So you have really not been very successful. I don't know where you have been the last 20 years. Yeah? And then you say, India, the new superpower. You have money to build one aircraft carrier. Okay, what you want to impress anybody with them. Yeah? So ultimately, it's really a little bit of a in-between, middle of the road kind of a way the India is going. And now, when there was the big change in the world last year with the war, you could have recently joined the free world, transformed yourself in a partner of the West, and distance yourself from the authorities, authoritarians in China and Russia, and India would be the superstar, like I was expecting it. Yeah? But no, India has chosen a completely wrong way, and the price will be bitter because the structural integrity of India will be not sustainable under these circumstances. And people like me will start really seriously to support the future, which is different than India on the subcontinent. And why not? Yeah, I repeat, it's completely possible to continue the Indian partition. It was 49, 47 with Pakistan, then with Bangladesh. And now let's discuss Khalistan. Yes.